we have not created anything as humans. We've innovated, but we haven't created. We've never invented anything truly. We've only taken things that already existed and created things, such as the automobile. The automobile wasn't eternally existent, but all the parts to create the car were. And it took our minds, yes, to create those things, to make them form and function. But we didn't create the things that made it.
I'm pretty sure we did. Wheels.
What are wheels made of? Six books that do not contradict each other at all.
Okay.
So for that to happen, there has to be some divine inspiration behind it. Because not only are the four Gospels a record of Jesus being God, all of them were written at separate times by different men of different accounts that all line up with each other.
Or maybe they just agreed upon it upon faith.
We know that they weren't in the same room when they wrote down these Gospels.
Sure, but that doesn't really mean anything.
It does, because they all came to the same exact conclusion.
Just because they came to the exact same conclusion doesn't really mean that it is the truth.
But if you and I are in two separate parts and we write the same thing, it would show reliability of what we're writing. Because both of us at separate times wrote about the same account, right? So imagine, do you believe in Julius Caesar?
Sure.
Do you know who Julius Caesar was? Did you know that there's more evidence of Jesus Christ, death, burial, and resurrection than there is of Julius Caesar?
Just because there is more evidence, there may be more evidence as to the existence of Jesus Christ, but that doesn't really mean that he was like a true person. There could be more of something, but it doesn't really mean that that thing is true.
So then you would just be grasping at things to try and justify your claim. Whereas we have historical evidence, we have scientific evidence that these things are true.
Like I said, there is no sign. There's really no actual evidence of Jesus even existing in the first place.
I cannot see evidence in archaeology or history for a historical Jesus.
Yeah, well, I do. I mean, that's why I wrote the book. Well, I mean, okay, yeah. I mean, I have a whole book on it. I mean, so there is a lot of evidence. I mean, there is so much evidence that it is not. I mean, I know in the crowds you all run around with, it's commonly thought that Jesus did not exist. Let me tell you, once you get outside of your conclave, there's nobody who. I mean, this is not even an issue for scholars of antiquity. It is not an issue for scholars. There is no scholar in any college or university in the Western world who teaches classics, ancient history, New Testament, early Christianity, any related field who doubts that Jesus existed.
Like propaganda and religion, all that stuff goes back years and years and years.
Yeah, I would totally agree with that. But there's only one grave that was empty. There's only one stone that was rolled away. There's only one person who claimed to be God, who rose again from the dead 3 days after they died, showed up to the masses, and ascended into heaven.
Like I said, there's no...
Those things. We took things that already existed and made things out of it. That's like saying we made trees by building houses. That doesn't logically add up.
It doesn't work like that. Science and technology, those things, some of those things may have came from some other things, some of those haven't.
Where do you get this information from? Because if I was to ask you, okay, so we created science, but we didn't. We named things that were objectively part of science, like we called something gravity when we dropped something on the ground. We called that gravity, but we didn't create gravity. We created the theory of it, right? So these things, they're objective. We have not created anything as humans. We've innovated, but we haven't created. We've never invented anything truly. We've only taken things that already existed and created things, such as the automobile. The automobile wasn't eternally existent, but all the parts to create the car were. And it took our minds, yes, to create those things, to make them form and function. But we didn't create the things that made it.
I'm pretty sure we did. Wheels, the engines.
What are wheels made of?
You got me there.
There you go. So we've never truly created anything. When it comes to aluminum, when it comes to iron, when it comes to all of these different things, we've found them in the ground, we've melted them, we've formed and created it, but we haven't invented it.
It still takes either way. It still takes ingenuity, lots of it, to be able to create these things.
I agree entirely. Like, you would have to.
So our potential, humanity's potential overall, is endless.
But that still doesn't answer my question, that are we able to create something out of nothing?
Knowing us, of course.
But you haven't been able to prove one instance of being able to create something out of nothing.
That's because usually when it comes to arguments like these, usually I'm not the best when it comes to responding. Like, you know.
You couldn't ask the best scientists if we can create something out of literally nothing. It doesn't work like that. We can't create something out of nothing.
Synthetic elements, we make them in nuclear reactors.
But you had to create them.
We created them.
Yeah, but you didn't create the atomic table.
What did you create? What did you create? Different chemical
You said
components.
we can create it. That means there was something to create it.
Yeah, we
You
can
can't create
rearrange
something-
chemical
Yeah, but it's
compounds.
saying-
I just want to say, I love that you're doing this.
Remove
I think
you
a lot
out
of,
of the
you got to be
question.
pretty brave to step up here. Because this is, you know, you can talk in circles for a long time.
The proof is in the pudding. That's like saying a building can build itself, that it was already existent here, that we didn't need a builder, that we didn't need a mind to build it.
Look. What he's trying to imply is that, like, we're taking something and we're expanding on it. See,
What is that called in theory? What is that called in theory? Is that invention or innovation?
Why not both?
Because invention is literally creating something out of nothing. Creating something new.
That is something.
But it's not, because you're taking elements that are already existent and creating something synthetic. So even if you try and justify it by saying you're creating something synthetic, you're not creating anything out of nothing.
But-
Can you speak right now and say something formed? You can't even think of a color outside of what's on the color span.
On the what?
You know, in the color wheel, you can't think of a new color. It's physically impossible.
Pretty sure anybody can.
Okay.